There's a version of you right now, existing in a different dimension, living a life that's already aligned with what you're seeking. Maybe they've already achieved the things you're struggling with. Maybe they've found the inner peace you've been chasing, or the success that feels just out of reach. And right now they're trying to reach you. It's subtle, but the signs are there. The question isn't whether they're trying to connect, it's whether you're tuned in enough to notice. You've likely noticed moments that don't quite fit into the normal flow of your life, right? Like when time seems to stretch or shrink in ways you can't explain. You're sitting in a meeting, and the clock seems to crawl. But then you're out with friends, and hours disappear in what feels like minutes. That's not just perception. That's time bending around you. It's a sign that your parallel self is reaching out, showing you that the constraints you believe in time, space, limits, they're not real.
Click subscribe to this channel to get more profound spiritual lessons.
And then there are those moments that feel like déjà vu, but more intense. Not just a fleeting feeling of, have I been here before, but more like, I know exactly what happens next. You've seen it, felt it, lived it somewhere else. That's because your parallel self is living a different version of this reality. And sometimes, the lines between these realities blur. What you think is a coincidence is really a glimpse into another life, another path. Dreams. Let's not overlook the significance of dreams. When your parallel self is trying to reach you, your dreams become more vivid, more real, and they carry messages that linger long after you wake up. These aren't just random images your brain is throwing together. These are communications from another dimension. It's like you're being pulled into their world just for a brief time, so you can see what's possible for you. Pay attention when you wake up and can still feel the emotions of a dream as though it just happened. That's not your imagination. That's a bridge between you and that higher version of yourself. Now think about the moments in your life when you feel out of sync with the world around you. Everything seems fine on the surface, but inside, you feel like you're living in two places at once. One foot in this world, one foot somewhere else. That's not just a weird feeling. That's your parallel self pulling you toward a different reality. It's like a tug on your consciousness, asking you to step up, to align with the version of you that's already figured things out. But here's where it all gets interesting. You're being shown signs all the time, but it's up to you to notice them. They're not loud, not obvious. If you're too caught up in the noise of daily life, you'll miss them. Things like repeated numbers, strange coincidences, or even unexpected encounters, these are the signs. You'll see the same number over and over again, or you'll run into someone who says exactly what you needed to hear. That's not random. That's your parallel self guiding you, trying to get your attention. And the more you pay attention, the more these signs will show up. Once you start catching these signs, you'll notice that they're not just random events, they're part of a larger pattern. Synchronicity. It's the way the universe communicates when words won't cut it. When your parallel self is trying to reach you, you'll see synchronicities popping up all around you. These are those coincidences that feel too perfect to be accidents. You think of someone, and they call. You're thinking about a certain question, and the answer shows up in a conversation, on a billboard, or in a song. This is your parallel self using the universe as a tool to nudge you in the right direction. They've already been through what you're going through. They've already figured out the solutions to the problems you're facing, and they're using synchronicity to show you the way. But here's the thing, synchronicity isn't just about noticing these moments. It's about acting on them. When you see a sign, you're supposed to do something with it. It's like being given a map, but you still have to follow it. You might find yourself drawn to new ideas, new people, or new experiences that seem to come out of nowhere. That's not random. That's your parallel self pulling you toward the version of reality where you're thriving. But to get there, you have to let go of the familiar. You can't stay in your comfort zone and expect to step into the life your parallel self is living. They're already living at a higher level, and they're inviting you to join them, but you have to be willing to leave behind the habits, the mindset, and the routines that are keeping you stuck. It's not always easy. When your parallel self is trying to connect with you, it can feel like you're being stretched between two worlds. The old you wants to stay grounded in what's familiar, but the higher version of you is calling you to something more. There's tension. You might even feel like you're losing interest in things that used to matter to you. That's because you're shifting. You're starting to align with a different frequency, a different reality. And this is when the signs start coming faster. You'll notice more synchronicities. You'll feel like the universe is speaking directly to you. Sometimes it's subtle, a conversation you overhear that answers a question you've been wrestling with. Other times, it's more direct, a sudden opportunity that feels like it came out of nowhere. But it didn't. It's all part of the plan. Your parallel self is guiding you, step by step, toward the version of reality where everything starts to fall into place. At a certain point, you'll realize that the signs, the synchronicities, the dreams, they're not just hints, they're invitations. Your parallel self isn't just trying to get your attention. They're asking you to step into their world, to align with the version of reality where everything you've been working toward already exists. This isn't about becoming someone else. It's about becoming more of who you really are. The version of you that's living in the fifth dimension isn't separate from you. They're you, just without the limitations you've been carrying around. They've already solved the problems you're facing. They're already living the life you want. And they're showing you that you can live it too. But first, you have to step into alignment with that version of yourself. Intuitive nudge, follow it. When you notice a synchronicity, act on it. When you have a dream that feels significant, write it down and see what it's trying to tell you. These are the breadcrumbs your parallel self is leaving for you, guiding you toward the life you're meant to live. But here's the most important part. You have to be willing to let go of the version of yourself that's holding you back. The version of you that's stuck in fear, doubt, and limitation. The version of you that believes things have to be hard, that success is a struggle, or that you're not ready. Your parallel self doesn't believe any of that. They know what you're capable of, and they're living it. They're waiting for you to catch up. As you start to align with this higher version of yourself, things will begin to shift. You'll notice that challenges seem to resolve themselves more easily. Opportunities will show up without you having to chase them down. You'll start to feel a sense of flow, like the universe is working with you instead of against you. That's because you're no longer fighting against the current. You're stepping into alignment with the version of yourself that's already thriving. This isn't some distant, abstract concept. It's real. It's happening now. Your parallel self is trying to reach you because they know that you're ready. They're showing you the way, but it's up to you to take the next step. The signs are there. The synchronicities are happening. The question is, are you ready to listen? So you've started noticing the signs, the synchronicities, the dreams. You felt that pull from a version of yourself that's already living in alignment, already thriving. But what happens next? How do you actually merge with that parallel self? How do you step into that reality where everything you've been working toward is already happening? Here's the thing, merging with your parallel self isn't about waiting for some mystical event to happen. It's about a shift in how you see yourself, how you move through the world, and how you respond to the signs that are constantly being shown to you. This isn't about waiting for the universe to give you permission. It's about deciding to align with that version of yourself. It's about making the conscious choice to live as though you're already that person. Let's break it down. Start by looking at the signs you've already seen, the synchronicities, the strange coincidences, the dreams. These are breadcrumbs leading you toward the life you're meant to live. But they're not just random hints. They're showing you the energy that you need to embody. When you notice a synchronicity, whether it's a number sequence, a chance encounter, or a feeling of déjà vu, it's not just a cool moment. It's a signal that you're on the right track. The mistake most people make is thinking these signs are external. But the truth is, these signs are coming from within you. They're reflections of the shift that's already happening inside. And once you start to recognize this, you can begin to embody that higher version of yourself in your daily life. You can start to live as if you've already merged with your parallel self. One of the most powerful things you can do is to act as if. This doesn't mean pretending to be something you're not. It means aligning your actions, your thoughts, and your emotions with the version of yourself that's already living your ideal life. How would that version of you handle challenges? How would they show up every day? What decisions would they make? Start living from that place now. Because when you do, you're not just aligning with your parallel self, you're actually becoming them, step by step. But here's the catch: this process requires letting go of the version of you that's stuck in the old patterns. The version of you that believes in limitations, that doubts your path, that thinks things have to be difficult. That version of you isn't bad or wrong, but they're no longer serving your highest potential. To merge with your parallel self, you have to let go of that old identity. You have to stop feeding the thoughts, beliefs, and behaviors that keep you tied to the reality you're trying to grow beyond. This isn't always easy. Sometimes, the old version of you will fight to stay alive. You'll feel resistance, doubt, fear, all the things that have held you back up until now. That's normal. But the key is to recognize that these feelings are just old energy trying to hold on. They're not the truth of who you are. They're not the truth of who you're becoming. They're just echoes of the old, and they'll fade as you continue to step into alignment with your parallel self. So how do you strengthen this connection with your parallel self? How do you make the shift from simply noticing the signs to actually living as that higher version of yourself? One of the most effective tools you can use is visualization, but not in the vague, abstract way you might have heard of before. This is about creating a vivid, sensory-rich image of your ideal reality and then feeling it as though it's already happening. Your parallel self is already living in that reality, and when you visualize it, you're tuning into their frequency. You're aligning your energy with theirs. But visualization on its own isn't enough. You need to pair it with emotion. The reason emotions are so powerful is that they act as the bridge between your current state and the reality you're trying to create. When you feel the emotions of already living your ideal life, You're sending a signal to the universe that says, I'm ready for this. I'm already living this. Think about it. How would you feel if you were already living the life you've been working toward? How would you wake up in the morning? How would you walk into a room? What kind of energy would you bring to every interaction, every decision, every experience? When you can cultivate that emotional state, you're not just imagining your ideal reality, you're stepping into it. And here's the best part: your brain doesn't know the difference between something that's vividly imagined and something that's actually happening. When you combine visualization with emotion, you're literally rewiring your brain to match the reality you want to experience. And as you do this, you start to see the signs, the synchronicities, the opportunities that bring you closer and closer to that reality. This isn't magic, it's science. It's the way energy works. What you focus on, you attract. What you feel, you create. But don't just visualize once and forget about it. Make it a daily practice. Every morning before you even get out of bed, spend a few minutes visualizing yourself living as your parallel self. Feel the emotions of already being in that reality. Let it fill your body, your mind, your energy, and then carry that feeling with you throughout the day. Act from that place. Make decisions from that place. Respond to challenges from that place. When you do this consistently, something incredible happens. You start to collapse the distance between you and your parallel self. You start to bring that reality into the present. And before you know it, you're no longer just visualizing your ideal life, you're living it. Now, here's the part that most people struggle with: trust. You've done the work. You've noticed the signs. You've acted on the synchronicities. You've visualized, felt the emotions, and aligned your energy with your parallel self. But then doubt creeps in. You start to wonder if it's really working, if you're actually on the right path. Maybe things aren't moving as quickly as you'd hoped, or maybe you're still facing challenges that make you question whether this is all just wishful thinking. This is where trust comes in. Trusting the process means letting go of the need to control how and when things happen. It means surrendering to the flow of the universe and knowing that everything is unfolding exactly as it's meant to. Your parallel self has already achieved what you're striving for. They already know the way. But it's not your job to figure out every step. Your job is to stay aligned, to keep showing up as the highest version of yourself, and to trust that the universe will take care of the rest. When you trust the process, you stop trying to force things. You stop second-guessing yourself. You stop doubting whether you're on the right path. And instead, you move through life with a sense of ease, knowing that everything is working in your favor, even if you can't see it yet. This doesn't mean sitting back and doing nothing. It means taking inspired action from a place of alignment and then letting go of the outcome. And here's the truth: the more you trust, the faster things will start to shift. The more you let go of the need to control, the more space you create for the universe to deliver what you've been asking for. This is the final step in merging with your parallel self, trusting that it's already done. Trusting that the signs, the synchronicities, the dreams, and the visualizations are all leading you exactly where you need to go. So when you start seeing the signs, when you feel that pull from your parallel self, know that it's not just a coincidence. It's real. It's happening. And the more you trust the process, the more you'll find yourself living in alignment with the version of you that's already thriving in the fifth dimension. That version of you is waiting, and the only thing left to do is step into it. Now that you've trusted the process, you're starting to notice how things are changing. The signs you once questioned are now undeniable. Synchronicities are happening more frequently, and you're starting to see the connections between what you visualized and what's showing up in your life. But there's a shift that happens once you get to this point. It's subtle, but it's profound. You stop looking for signs, and instead you start living as the sign. You become the embodiment of your parallel self. This is where the real magic happens. Up until now, you've been tuning in, noticing, aligning, and trusting. But now, it's about being. The gap between you and your parallel self is closing, and you're starting to integrate more fully with that version of you. This isn't just about thinking like your parallel self or feeling like them, it's about embodying them in every moment. What does that look like? It's the way you carry yourself. It's the way you handle challenges. It's how you show up in your relationships, your work, your day-to-day life. You're no longer reacting to things the way you used to. You're no longer operating from a place of fear or lack. Instead, you're moving with confidence, with clarity, with a sense of purpose that comes from knowing you're aligned with a higher version of yourself. But here's the key, this isn't a performance. You're not pretending to be someone you're not. You're simply stepping into the truth of who you've always been. Your parallel self has been living this reality all along. And now that you're aligning with them, you're starting to see that this version of you was never out of reach. In fact, it's always been right here, waiting for you to recognize it. This shift in embodiment doesn't happen overnight. It's a gradual process, but once it begins, you'll notice that your external reality starts to mirror your internal state. The things you used to struggle with don't seem so difficult anymore. Opportunities that once felt out of reach are now within your grasp. You're no longer chasing after things, you're attracting them effortlessly. And it's not just about the big things. You'll start to notice changes in the small, everyday moments too. Conversations flow more easily. Solutions to problems seem to appear out of nowhere. You're more in tune with your intuition and you trust it completely. This is because you're no longer operating from a fragmented version of yourself. You're whole, you're aligned, and you're living as your parallel self right here, right now. Of course, even as things start to align, there will still be challenges. The world around you hasn't changed overnight, and not everyone in your life is going to understand what's happening. They might not see the shifts you're making, and some might even resist the changes they're noticing in you. That's okay. This is part of the process. When you start living as the highest version of yourself, the people around you will respond in different ways. Some will be inspired by your growth and will want to rise with you. Others might feel threatened by the change because it challenges their own beliefs about what's possible. This can create tension, but it's important to remember that your path is your own. You're not responsible for how others react to your transformation. Your only responsibility is to stay true to the version of yourself that you're aligning with. There will be moments where the old version of you tries to resurface. You might find yourself slipping back into old patterns, old ways of thinking, or old fears. This is normal. The process of integrating your parallel self isn't linear. There will be ups and downs. But the difference now is that you're aware of it. When those old thoughts and behaviors come up, you have the awareness to recognize them for what they are, remnants of a reality you're no longer living in. The key is not to judge yourself when this happens. You're human, and growth isn't about perfection. It's about progress. When you notice yourself slipping into old habits, simply recognize it and make the choice to realign with the version of yourself that's already thriving. This might mean taking a moment to reconnect with your visualization, to feel the emotions of already living in that higher reality, or even just taking a deep breath and reminding yourself of how far you've come. Remember, this process is about embodying your parallel self, not forcing it. It's about allowing the highest version of yourself to come through naturally, without resistance. And as you continue to align with that version of you, the challenges will become easier to navigate. You'll start to see them for what they are: opportunities for growth, for deeper alignment, for stepping even more fully into your power. At this stage, something profound begins to shift within you. You realize that you're not just aligning with your parallel self, you're actively creating your reality. You've moved beyond simply noticing signs and synchronicities. Now, you're the one setting the tone. You're the one shaping your experience. You're no longer waiting for things to happen, you're making them happen. This is the ultimate power of merging with your parallel self. You come to understand that reality is fluid. It's not something that happens to you, it's something you create, moment by moment. Your parallel self has always known this, and now you do too. The limitations you once believed in, they were never real. The obstacles you thought you couldn't overcome, you've already moved past them. When you live from this place, you stop focusing on what's missing and start focusing on what's possible. You stop worrying about the future because you know that you're already aligned with the version of you that has everything you need. You stop looking for external validation because you found it within yourself. You're no longer bound by the rules of the old reality. You're living in a reality that you've consciously created, shaped by the choices you've made and the energy you're embodying. And here's the most powerful part: as you continue to live in alignment with your parallel self, the world around you will begin to reflect that. You'll attract the people, the opportunities, the experiences that match the energy you're putting out. The things you once dreamed of will start to show up in your life, not because you're chasing them, but because you're aligned with them. This is the essence of living as the creator of your reality. It's not about forcing things to happen, it's about aligning with the version of yourself that's already living the life you desire. And when you do this, the universe responds. It bends to meet you where you are. It mirrors back to you the energy you're embodying. And suddenly, the life you've been dreaming of isn't just a dream anymore, it's your reality. So, here's where we are. You've recognized the signs. You've trusted the process. You've aligned with your parallel self. And now, you're living as the creator of your reality. This isn't some far-off concept. It's happening now. You're no longer waiting for things to change, you are the change. You're no longer looking outside of yourself for answers, you are the answer. And the journey doesn't end here. This is just the beginning. As you continue to live in alignment with your highest self, new possibilities will continue to unfold. New dimensions of reality will reveal themselves. And the life you're living now will continue to evolve, expand, and transform in ways you can't even imagine yet. But you're ready for it. You've already proven that by aligning with the version of yourself that's living in the fifth dimension. The only thing left to do now is to keep going, to keep growing, and to keep creating the reality that you know is possible. Because the truth is, you're not waiting for anything anymore. You're already there.